Good morning. It is a bright, sunny day today. Um, Happy Easter tomorrow. Um, Today is an AA day. Glad you're here. Um, Please do not be harassing anyone in the chat. Don't be rude. Don't pass judgment. Um, and chat as you would any other friend or family member, because after all, this is AA, and it's a help program for everyone. So, I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. We're going to get into the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, thank you, Lily. Good morning, sister. I always put in the description what book we're reading and what story we're on, or what step or tradition we are on, and the page number as well. So we are reading the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book, and we are on step 7, or tradition 7, sorry, and it is page 160. So if you don't have a book, it's all right. I'm going to read it anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the steps. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Copper. Please don't. Copper. Hey, right now. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrong. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Tradition 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2. For our group purpose there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Hi, Tony. 8. Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. AA as such ought never be organized but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. We are on Tradition 7, page 160. Tradition 7. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Self-supporting alcoholics. Who ever heard of such a thing? Yet we find that what we have to be. This principle is telling evidence of the profound change that AA has worked in all of us. Everybody knows that active alcoholics scream that they have no trouble money can't cure. Always we've had our hands out, time out of mind. We've been dependent upon somebody, usually money wise, when a society composed entirely of alcoholics says it's going to pay its bills, that's really news. Probably no AA tradition had the labor pains this one did. In early times, we were all broke. When you add to this the habitual supposition that people ought to give money to alcoholics trying to stay sober, it can be understood why we thought we deserved a pile of folding money, what great things AA would be able to do with it. But they figured that it was high time we now, sober, paid our own way. So our fellowship stayed poor because it had to. There was another reason for our collective poverty. It was soon apparent that while alcoholics would spend lavishly on 12-step cases, they had a terrific aversion to dropping money into a meeting place hat for group purposes. We were astounded to find that we were as tight as the bark on a tree. So AA, the movement, started and stayed broke, while its individual members waxed prosperous. er, prosperous. Alcoholics are certainly all or nothing people. Our reactions to money prove this. Hello, PSB. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you. Our reactions to money prove this. AA's AA or as AA emerged from its infancy into adolescence, we swung from the idea that we needed vast sums of money to the notion that AA shouldn't have any, or on every lip were the words, "You can't mix AA and money." We shall have to separate the spiritual from the material. We took this violent new tack because here and there members had tried to make money out of their AA connections, and we feared we'd be exploited. Now and then, grateful benefactors had endowed clubhouses, and as a result, there was sometime outside interference in our affairs. We had been presented with a hospital, and almost immediately the donor's son became its principal patient, and we would be manager. One AA group was given $5,000 to do what it would. The hassle over that chunk of money played havoc for years. Frightened by these complications, some groups refused to have a cent in their treasuries. Despite misgivings, we had to recognize the fact that AA had to function. Meeting places cost something. To save whole areas from turmoil, small offices had to be set up, telephones installed, and a few full-time secretaries hired. Over many protests, these things were accomplished. We saw that if they weren't, the man coming in the door couldn't get a break. These simple services would require small sums of money which we could and would pay ourselves. At last the pendulum stopped swinging and pointed straight at Tradition 7 as it reads today. In this connection, Bill likes to tell the following pointed story. He explains that when Jack Alexander's Saturday Evening Post piece broke in 1941, thousands of fanatic letters from distraught alcoholics and their families hit the Foundation letterbox in New York. Our office staff, Bill says, consisted of two people, one devoted secretary and myself. How could the landslide of appeals be met? We'd have to have some more full-time help, that was sure. So we asked the AA groups for voluntary contributions. Would they send us $1 a member a year? Otherwise, this heartbreaking mail would have to go unanswered. Ouch. It was, uh, to my surprise, the response of the groups was slow. I got mighty sore about it. Looking at this avalanche of mail one morning at the office, I paced up and down, ranting how irresponsible and tightwads my fellow members were. Just then, an old acquaintance stuck a tousled and achy head in the door. He was our prize slippee. I could see he had an awful hangover. Remembering some of my own, my heart filled with pity. I motioned him to my inside cubicle and produced a $5 bill, as my total income was $30 a week at the time. This was a fairly large donation. Louis really needed the money for groceries, but that didn't stop me. The intense relief on my friend's face warmed my heart. I felt especially vigorous as I thought of all the ex-drunks who wouldn't even send the foundation $1 apiece. And here I was, gladly making a $5 investment to fix a hangover. The meeting that night was at New York's old 24th Street Clubhouse. During the intermission, the treasurer gave a timid talk on how broke the club was. That was in the period when you couldn't mix money and AA. But finally he said it, the landlord would put us out if we didn't pay up. He concluded his remarks by saying, "Now, boys, please go heavier on the hat tonight, will you?" I heard all the quite plainly as I was pi- po- piously trying to convert a newcomer who sat next to me. The hat came in my direction, and I reached into my pocket, still working on my prospects. I fumbled and came out with a 50-cent piece. Somehow it looked like a very big coin. Hastily I dropped it back and fished out a dime, with which clinked thinly as I dropped it in the hat. Hats never got folded money in those days. Then I woke up. I who had boasted my generosity that morning was treating my own club worse than the distant alcoholic who had forgotten to send the foundation their dollar. I realized that my $5 gift to the Slippy was an ego feeding proposition, bad for him and bad for me. There was a place in AA where spirituality and money would mix, and that was in the hat. There is another story about money. One night in 1948, the trustees of the foundation were having their quarterly meeting. The agenda discussion included a very important question. A certain lady had died. When her will was read, it was discovered she had left Alcoholics Anonymous in trust with the Alcoholic Foundation a sum of $10,000. The question was, should AA take the gift? What a debate we had on that one. The foundation was really hard up just then. The groups weren't sending in enough for the support of the office. We had been tossing in all the book income, and even that hadn't been enough. The reserve was melting like snow in springtime. We needed that $10,000. Maybe some said the group will never fully support the office. We can't let it shut down. It's far too vital. Yes, let's take the money. Let's take all such donations in the future. We're going to need them. Then came the opposition. They pointed out that the foundation board already knew of a total of $500,000 set aside for AA in the wills of people still alive. Heaven only knew how much there was we hadn't heard of. If outside donations weren't declined, absolute cut, absolutely cut off, then the foundation would one day become rich. Moreover, at the slightest intimation to the general public for our trustees that we needed money, we could become immensely rich. Compared to the prospect, $10,000 under consideration wasn't much. Like the alcoholic's first drink, it would, it, if taken inevitably set up a disastrous chain reaction. Where would that land us? Whoever pays the piper is apt to call the tune, and if the AA Foundation obtained money from outside sources, its trustee might be tempted to run things without reference to the wishes of AA as a whole. Relieved of responsibility, every alcoholic would shrug and say, "Oh, the foundation is wealthy. Why should I bother?" The pressure of that fat treasury would surely tempt the board to invent all kinds of schemes to do good with such funds, and so divert AA from its primary purpose. The moment that happened, our fellowship's confidence would be shaken. The board would be isolated and would fall under heavy attack of criticism from both AA and the public. These were the possibilities, pro and con. Then our trustee wrote a bright page of AA history. They declared for the principle that AA must always stay poor. Bare running expenses plus a prudent reserve would henceforth be the foundation's financial policy. Difficult as it was, they officially declined that $10,000 and adopted a formal airtight resolution that all such future gifts would be similarly declined. At that, at that moment, we believed the principle of corporate poverty was firmly and finally embedded in AA tradition. When these facts were printed, there was a profound reaction to people familiar with endless drives for charitable funds. AA presented a strange and refreshing spectacle. Approving editorials here and board generated a wave of confidence in the integrity of Alcoholics Anonymous. They pointed out that the irresponsible had become responsible, and that by making financial independence part of its tradition, Alcoholics Anonymous had revived an ideal that its era had almost forgotten. So when at our meetings at our normal AA group, we did pay rent for our space. I don't know how much the rent was. It wasn't really my business or my concern. But if we didn't have enough to cover the rent, then the person that would be running our meeting, and at that time it was Jim. He's passed on, but uh, if we were short or whatever, or if they were going to raise the rent, then um, it changed from $1 to $2. But you know, sometimes that's the only $2 that we have, and we're more than willing to give it up for our group because we need our literature, we need, our books, um, and things like that because they aren't free, but they don't want us to be accepting outside contributions because then we become responsible for that, and that's just too much. Um, my belief is, like it says, we AA meetings are poor, and we do it that way because the alcoholic is poor. Because where we were in our drinking days is rock bottom. And so we had no money to begin with. And why get upset over money when you don't have it, you know? And it gets controversial on where that money come from and blah, 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 and who's doing what with it and all that stuff. Well, I can tell you for us and my group, our our money that we paid at our meetings paid for coffee, water, uh, birthday cake for sobriety birthdays. It paid for our candy, which it was in a basket, and we'd pass it around, or we'd just bring a bag of candy, or whatever, But we did pass that around, and that was for our rent, literature, coffee, sugar, creamer, electricity, everything. And my group is not a big group, but we still managed to make that and still do meetings. Now, I haven't been out there for a meeting for quite some time. I think November was the last time I went out there for a meeting. But even so, that is what our minimum is we need to be able to donate, and it doesn't have to be a lot. And I do remember one time I donated $80 because we were short on the rent, and I love my group that much, and I was so proud to be able to do that. And no, I wasn't broke after that, but being able to help my group is a plus, right? And um, if you don't have money, we understand because a lot of us alcoholics don't have money. I mean, we're not rich, that's for sure. Huh. Highland Cloud, thank you for coming. Appreciate you. Um, but yeah, that's just how our group is. That's what an AA group does is they have rent that they pay, they have coffee that they buy, and every year we had a picnic at the park, so we had to pay for hamburgers and hot dogs and bring stuff for that. And it's just being part of a group of people that get each other. They understand what they're going through, and they are willing to listen and willing to talk and not pass judgment, and just hang out and be who you are. And that's why when I started YouTube, I was not going to be anything fake, because fake is not my name. um but yeah, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm a recovering alcoholic for the rest of my life, and I go day by day, and I don't get ahead of myself on my sobriety Because I'm sober today does not mean I'm guaranteed to be tomorrow. But that is my goal to do, is to still be sober. And I do it every day. And without having my group, I would not know how to do that. And I'm glad I have all of you guys here to be with me on my sobriety journey. My sister is coming up on her 9th year sober. Heck yes. Yes, July 19th. So, yeah, I know she's going to make it because she's right there with me. Alcohol is not our middle name anymore. We've been long enough without it and we don't want it. Thank you, Tony. You've helped me through a lot, a lot of stuff. Without my sponsor, I had two sponsors, one passed on, but without the two of them, I surely would not be sitting here doing a meeting online. I would have never done my first speaker meeting, which I did in person, thanks to my first sponsor signing me up to do that. But I'm not shy about being an alcoholic anymore because that's what I am. That's a major part of who I am. That took a lot of my life that I can't take it back. But I remember it enough to where I don't want to go get it back. And going backwards, that's a small window, you know. Keep looking forward. It's got the bigger picture, for sure. Right, Lil. Don't don't count your chickens until they hatch. Exactly. Exactly. But you know, and me being sober, it took me admitting to myself that I was that alcoholic that I fought to not become. And when I finally did that, the first time I ever did that, excuse me, hey, stop. As soon as I did that, it clicked, and I realized I seriously am an alcoholic and I need help. But the first year I did it by myself, and then I went back out, and then my friend says, "Oh, go to AA. I'll meet you at AA." And so, um, it's been a part of my life ever since, and I'm glad that it is part of my life. And today I got to go up and help my parents, and I thank you for all for the prayers. It means a lot. It really does. Um, she's home. She's okay. Hey, stop. He thinks he needs to talk. He's barking at Pippi, who's downstairs in her own yard. Yeah. He's like, whatever, Mom. But anyways, I'm going to say the Serenity Prayer and let you guys have the rest of your day. And I'm going to go up and see my mom. So, I love you guys. And I'll read the daily reflection to YouTube and I will post it on my wall. Thank you for coming. I appreciate every single one of you guys. And if you want to become a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button and the bell so you know when I go live again or when I have videos come out. And yeah, that's right. Exactly, Tony. Remember to remember just to breathe. Take it slow and easy. Breathe is the number one thing. Just breathe. So I love you guys. Thank you for coming. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you, Facebook. See ya. I'm gonna read that to you guys, and then I gotta go up and see my mom. Okay. March 30th. Our group conscience. Sometimes the good is the enemy of the best. Alcoholics Anonymous comes of age, page 101. I think these words apply to every area of AA's three legacies: recovery, unity, and service. I want them etched in my mind and life as I trudge the road of happy destiny. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 164. These words, often spoke by confounder Bill W., were appropriately said to him as a result of the group's conscience. I brought home to Bill W. the essence of our second tradition. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. Just as Bill W. was originally urged to remember, I think that in our group discussion we should never settle for the good, but always strive to attain the best. These common strivings are yet another example of a loving God as we understood him, expressing himself through the group conscience. Experiences such as these help me to stay on the proper path of recovery. I learned to combine initiative and humility, responsibility with thankfulness, and thus relish the joys of living my 24-hour program. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see you guys again on Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And be safe out there, be kind, and have a happy Easter.